Hi, my name is Banke Meshida-Lawal and I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Young Banke Meshida stumbled on what would eventually become a multi-million-dollar business. While studying for a degree at the University of Lagos, she perfected the art of making herself up and then her friends and strangers purely for fun. Today, she continues to be a force to reckon with in the Nigerian beauty industry with a firm on the speed dial of celebrities and prominent personalities, which include first ladies. Her firm, BMPro, is a multi-faceted business that boasts of a cosmetic makeup line of over 40 products, a training school, a beauty advisory, and an online magazine. BMPro was derived from the name Banke Meshida Professional. Banke Meshida-Lawal is the CEO of BMPro.
All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Banke.
Thank you for having me.
All right, amazing. Banke, you were born in Ile-Ife.
Yes,
and
I
it's on
was.
record you moved back to Lagos in your early years. Please do tell me about life growing up in Lagos and the Meshida household.
I was born on campus. My father was a lecturer in Ife. I had a good childhood. My parents were very liberal, so they let us be. I've always had an interest in the arts from an early age, and my parents encouraged that. And I think that was a background, it was a good background to have.
Okay, so talking about background, what led you to study English language at the University of Lagos in the first place?
I actually wanted to be a diplomat because back in Ife, we had these neighbors, the Adamolekuns. I think their father worked with UNICEF. So they travel a lot, and they had all these artifacts in their house. They had the Russian dolls on their mantle, and I was always very intrigued with the life they led. So I just said to myself, oh wow, I'd like to be like Professor Adamolekun. And I went on to apply for international relations, and it was only taught in Ife. But I knew from an early age that I didn't want to go to the University of Ife. It was a tough existence.
Wow.
So then we moved to Lagos, and I applied to study English at the University of Lagos.
All right. So tell me about that time when you first picked up the makeup brush.
Yes. So back then in Unilag, I would do my own makeup. So for classes, I'd wake up really early in the morning and do my face and eventually make it to class, albeit late. That was in my first year.
Okay.
I was a Jambite and
96, 97?
96, 97, you're correct.
Right.
So I would do my own face and accost total strangers to please let me have a go at doing theirs. Some would oblige, some would just shoo me away. And that was where everything started from. Eventually, some people gave me their faces to make up, and I made fast friends with a lot of them, and that was how it started.
Your father, or was it your parents, were educationists, right?
No, my father was a lecturer.
Okay.
My mother was a radiographer, so she had a private practice.
Okay.
My mother was an entrepreneur. My father was in the academics.
So would you say you picked up
oh yes,
the
I
entrepreneurial vibes from the mom?
I definitely picked that up from my mom.
Okay. So was it a problem the first time you ever mentioned to them, like, you know what, I'm going to do this as a business?
Of course, because I was in my second year, and that was when it all took off. And my father said, no, I didn't send you to school to go and do business. And I said, look, I'm only doing this in the weekends. Then weddings were usually Fridays and Saturdays. But he still said no. So after a while, I stopped discussing it. And as time went on, they realized that I wasn't asking for pocket money. as I. So of course, I'm sure a part of them was happy, but my father was still adamant that no, you're not going to do any business. You have to focus and face your studies, blah blah blah. And I just never argued. I just said, okay, no problem. But there I was staying on campus. I was in Moremi, and I continued with my business. And my studies didn't suffer. I finished with a second class.
Okay. So tell me about your first paying client.
She was my roommate's older sister. Of course, my roommate was privy to everything going on. She saw how people would come into my room to have their makeup done, and they would pay me. And from the onset, she had always known that she said to me that she always wanted me to do her sister's makeup when her sister was getting married. And her sister wasn't in school with us at the time. And she called me and she just, how much are you going to charge us? And of course, I've always been quite savvy when money matters. I billed her and she paid, and that was that.
So would you consider that your first big break?
Yes, I did her hair and her makeup, and I gave them suggestions with everything concerning the wedding, and they regarded my opinion. So she was my very first paying client, and then henceforth, people knew that if they wanted to engage my services, they'd have to pay for it.
Wow. And all this from the University of Lagos?
All this from Unilag.
Banke would later graduate with a bachelor's degree in English language and literature from the University of Lagos, where she launched her business.
Tell me, between finishing from Unilag and then getting your very first studio.
While I was in school, I would save all the money that I made. My older sister used to save for me because I was quite a spendthrift. So I'd give her the money, and she'd put in a shoebox in her room, and then eventually the shoeboxes got too many, and then I opened a bank account. Yes, and then I started putting my money in there and saving, and then when I graduated, it was time for service. So I did my NYSC in my father's company. It was an engineering firm, but of course that was just I was still doing makeup, and then people would come to the house for the appointments booked. And one day my father said, "You know what? This house is. We're here. People are parking. They're blocking my driveway. I can't even. It's time for you to go out there." And I scouted, and I found the studio on Romans Road in Ikoyi, and I paid for it, and that was my very first studio. So it became a necessity because my home was inundated. It was swarmed with clients. So the business worked for me.
At the time you were starting this, I don't think there was other makeup artists, or even the concept of makeup artistry. It wasn't even that popular, was it? I
think it had been there, but it wasn't presented to the world the way that we have done it. I remember my very first interview. It was with the Soft Cell. It was the City People, and after that interview, the very next week, another makeup artist granted an interview. So it's BMPro sort of opened the floodgates for the artists back then. And then subsequently, City People supported the young entrepreneurs, because I remember back in the days, if you wanted to know what was going on, you just pick it up and you will see all sorts of businesses advertised in there. But the concept of makeup artistry, it was very new back then. With the finesse, with the way that we did it, it was very different from whatever had been available in the market then.
So you didn't have any role models at the time?
I did. I did. Not Nigerian role models, okay. No. So there was Sam Fine, who I bought his book back then, and Kevin O'Coin, he's late now. So those were the people that I looked up to in the industry. And there's also Gary Cockerill.
Okay.
But these are all foreign makeup artists. So for now, I took inspiration from them and infused our culture. And then we've created what we have, the Nigerian makeup.
All right. So you may not have had local role models at the time in your industry, but today you're a role model and your pioneer status is intact, not only in the makeup artistry space, but also in beauty product space. How did you start, what prompted you to even start your own makeup line?
The inability to find products that would do exactly what I wanted. Back then, there was there were very few foundation colors, for example. There were very few powder textures that stayed matte and would cover. Over time, I realized that I really needed products to be a certain way, and then I looked for companies that manufacture cosmetics and spoke to them and requested some characteristics for certain products, and the in-house scientists came up with formulas, and then BMPro started. So BMPro, the makeup, was born out of me trying to create products that would perform excellently, especially in the Nigerian weather.
And how's that going?
Fantastic. We started in 2005. I think we had just 14 products in the range. Now we have about 100 different colors, different textures, different formulas, and it keeps growing because we always want to be one step ahead. And by being like that, we sort of open the market for people to come in and create, and it all boils down to providing products that work for the Nigerian market.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm sure, your operation is quite a large one today. Yes. You're the CEO, of course, sitting at the top, but what's your current business structure?
We have various departments that monitor various arms of the business. We have the in-store, we have marketing, we have the online store, we have distribution, we have the artistry arm. So it's various arms of the business has various arms. Okay. Everything is sort of plug and play. So even if I'm not there, the various heads of department that handle various parts of the business.
So how would you describe your leadership style?
I let people fly. So I take, for example, at the beginning of the business, there were no artists except the ones that I trained. So I would employ complete novices. I could employ my security guard's sister and train her, show her the ropes from 0 to 1,000. So I would train complete people who had no idea of makeup artistry and then leave the reins. And it's worked for my business. So I would say that I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher. And I understand that because this business started from a talent that I have. I don't really expect people to have the same skills as me. So I'm willing to teach them, and I'm very patient. I'm very, very patient.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not a quality that a lot of leaders possess, including myself. But I'm sure as a leader, you must have failed at some point. Tell me about your failures and failings as a leader.
A couple of months ago, actually, we realized that trust, you should watch who you trust, especially in business. I had some trusted aides do very damaging things to the company. Luckily, we've recovered, but then it made me realize that trusting staff 100% is never the way to go. You have to hold back. You have to put structure in place, and you have to believe the worst put so much hope in people. I just always felt the world was kosher, you know. But then I've learned that it's never black and white. There's some gray areas. I wouldn't say it's a failure, but it's not a good. I don't think now, looking back, I don't think you should trust people 100%. You should.
Banke acknowledges her failings as a leader, and I'm certain there are key lessons from doing business in Africa she will be willing to share.
So tell me, what are the most critical lessons, besides not trusting people. That you've learned in business and can share?
Talent can only get you far. What keeps a business moving is quality, the quality of service that you offer, your relationship with your clientele, appreciating the client, never resting on your oars, never hitting the point where you say to yourself, okay, now I can relax, I'm this person, you have to keep it moving. Tides change, and you always have to be prepared for the next chapter or next phase.
All right. So I know that, BMPro has, in Lagos alone, you've got 2 stores, do you call them?
We have 2, yes.
2.
3, actually.
3.
Yes.
Lekki and Ikoyi
Ikeja
and Ikeja.
Yes.
What's your plan to further scale the business?
We plan to open a luxury arm. So it's like a luxury retail space. That's I'm going to watch out for that.
Okay.
Because we realize that certain brands will not want to be represented in these parts, except it's on a luxury platform. And I want to provide that space for them. Because, women beauty products, we have some staples that we must always have. And some of these staples are not locally available.
Okay.
And reaching out to those brands, they've just let us know that they would only come if we have an appropriate space. So that's one of the things that we're looking into.
All right. So in terms of the products, how and how far do you distribute the products?
We have distributors all over the world. We have a functioning online store. It's amazing. BMPromakeup.com, and we ship to 220 countries.
Wow.
Yes. Because we ship to 220 countries, we also have local distributors. So if you order on our site, our distributors are plugged in to our back end. So shipping is faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you run that operation? Where's the warehousing?
It's here in Lagos.
Wow.
But our distributors we have in the US, we have in Canada, we have in the UK.
So you have hubs and back ends and warehouses for all of those.
Yes.
All right. Tell me, I know you're very well traveled. How has travel and interacting with different cultures, helped to shape your person?
In actual fact, every time I want to embark on a large project, I travel because I'm inspired when I travel. I see cultures, I see how things are done differently abroad. And in the art space, it's very inspiring. I love to travel.
Okay. So what would you say makes the Nigerian business landscape unique?
It's very tough, especially with the currency exchange rate, first of all, customs. The Nigerian terrain pushes you. You could just wake up, you have a shipment coming in, and they just tell you it's been seized. Why? You already know why it was seized. So you just have to find how to get around that problem. I've done this. So 2005, we have large shipments come in every couple of months. It's never smooth, but we're here. We're here for the bigger picture, so we'll continue.
With a business terrain as tough as Nigeria, BMPro continues to break barriers and build an enviable business that has received numerous accolades, awards, and recognition.
You and of course your team I've received loads of recognition, nods, awards, accolades over the years. What do these nods, recognition, accolades, what do they truly mean to you?
They're like a stamp of acceptance of the brand, for the brand. Recently, I was awarded a Lifetime Achiever Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, and it made me very nostalgic. It took me back to the very beginning, and I realized, oops, I've been here for 20 years. Initially, I wasn't even thinking of having something, but 20 years in the same space and still going at this space is. And I look at all the awards, and I'm reminded of all the work and all the effort that my team and I have put in to the space. And we've helped the economy. Nigerian makeup artists are well of repute now. Yes.
Talking about your team, we all know that human resource is a key element to consider,
Yes.
when building any enterprise. How would you advise a startup to hire?
I'd say one thing, whatever business you want to do, the owner has to know how to run every aspect of that business. You have to, so you don't just, you're not just investing financially. You have to invest time, sweat, knowledge, everything. And you must be able to do that business if push comes to shove. So you're not, no one is taking you for ransom, especially staff, If you run a business on the Nigerian terrain, you know what I'm talking about. Your staff can just wake up and say, oh, it's raining in my area, I can't come to work. And how are you going to explain that to your client? So for every startup, you have to have the upper hand, meaning you have to be able to do everything that your staff is responsible for doing.
All right, so you're married with two amazing daughters. How do you balance all of this? I mean, there's a school of thought that says work-life balance is not achievable. It's a myth, and some others believe it's achievable. What side do you fall?
My husband is very supportive. I mean, he met me at the beginning of my career, so even time for dating, I almost didn't have. So he already knew what he was getting into. When I'm not there, he handles the home front. And when I'm there and he has to travel, I just have to be there. And when I had my first child, I'd go to Kano, Maiduguri. I went everywhere with her and my nanny. So we've just found a way to make things work. Really.
Amazing. So tell me, what are the key skill sets a CEO needs to acquire in managing people?
Number one, I think you have to be very knowledgeable. You have to know every arm of the business, and you have to be able to handle it. You have to be patient. You have to know how to address and sort your clients out, make them happy. Otherwise, they won't come back to the business. You also have to know that whatever you're doing, 5-10 people can do it. So what's going to make yours special? You have to separate yourself. You always have to be one step ahead. Infuse quality into your business. There's so much. I could go on.
All right. So tell me, what values are important to you and your firm?
Integrity. High standards. We provide beauty services, so we want to create ethereal beauties. And of course, I want the quality and the standard of the makeup to be second to none. And we've achieved that.
So what would you say is the biggest letdown you've experienced in your career so far?
Growing the business to where I want it to be. We're not yet where I want us to be. I mean, look at us. Our online store just took off. This is 20 years later. I have tried, and before this I had tried the resources. I remember going to India to try and when I was trying to build the site, paying thousands of pounds. but it never came to fruition. But thankfully, we've been able to get that rolling. And then education, training. It's hard to teach people who don't want to be taught. And in this sort of business, you have huge staff turnover because by the time you're done, you've gotten someone to a standard. The next thing is they want to be their own boss.
From starting a multi-million-dollar business from a hostel room in the University of Lagos, Banke has recorded organic growth in the beauty market with BMPro and is set to further scale by upholding her values of integrity and high standards. How does she spend her time away from work, and how does she enjoy her hard-earned resources? We dig into her lifestyle to find out.
So I have a few quickfire questions for you. What do you love to eat?
Proteins.
How would you describe your fashion style?
I like to be comfortable. I like flowy things and soft fabrics.
Okay, so what are your favorite brands to wear?
I would wear anything as long as it's black, it's flowy, and it's comfortable.
Not a problem. So what other CEOs do you currently look up to?
Mark Zuckerberg. You know, he's just so easy, and I mean, he never dresses like you now, but we all know what's behind that facade.
Okay. So what's your favorite car to drive?
I like the Mustang. Yes.
Your favorite travel destination?
Right now, that will have to be Florence, Italy, and of course Dubai.
Okay. Yeah. Your favorite book of all time?
Fine Things, Daniel Steele.
Lovely.
Yes.
And what book are you reading right now?
No, I'm not reading any books.
All right. So lastly, Banke, I'd like to know, what makes you happy?
Being in my home, being in my space, and of course, doing makeup. One thing that we pride ourselves in at BMPro is that we have repeat customers. We have people who have stayed with us for 15 years, 20 years, who we always do their makeup. That gives me so much joy because it means that even though other brands have been tried and tested, they always come back home. And we have a lot of loyal customers. I do not take that for granted because loyalty is everything.
I like how you say they always come back home.
They come back home.
Thank you for coming on Under 40 CEOs, Banke.
Thank you. You're welcome. My name is Banke Meshida-Lawal, and you too can be an Under 40 CEO.